Meatball Molly McCann, she fights Hannah Goldy. And my first argument when we talked about this on the pre-show was that why is Molly McCann not getting steps up in competition? Now, the person she just called out in her post-fight presser, that's going to be a step up in competition, Antonina Shevchenko. But when you're fighting a Hannah Goldy, if there's anybody who legit, I mean, look at these prop odds, man. Plus 1,600 TKO, plus 1,000 submission, plus 425 decision. Nobody really thought she was going to win. Now, I expected just a tactical back and forth. We're just going to punch each other up. It's going to go to a decision. This is a Molly McCann fight. Come on, minus 135 for the decision, the flyweight. But when it's first round and she's putting it on her and they get separated, she walks up, she throws a big right hand and follows it up with a spinning back elbow, cracks her. That was the beginning of the end. Once again, same thing with Nikita Krylov. It's the shots that you don't see coming that hurt you the most. And I can guarantee you she did not see that coming because when she got hit with it, it was, you just have that pause, that moment of just like you look around like what just happened. Next thing you know, you got 5 shots you're eating, fight's over. So this was super impressive by Molly McCann. How impressive in terms of knockouts for flyweights was this truly? I mean, you got Valentina who's head kicking Jessica Ai, knocking her head unconscious and all that, but like this is pretty damn impressive, right?
Very impressive, especially because we don't really see too many knockouts in the women's division. Nonetheless, the flyweight division, man, there's it's usually what we're expecting, the back and forth battle, the point battle that that's what we thought was going to happen. And to see Molly McCann, I believe on the pre-show, we said, we were like, there's no way she gets another spinning back elbow knockout. Like the decision's all locked. Not a chance it's gonna happen. Sure enough, she comes back and Hannah Goldy had to eat an elbow for our mistake, because Molly McCann, she sets that up, man. She really turns those hips and looks for it. Like she's a very talented striker, and it's impressive to see more and more knockouts coming. You know what I'm saying? Like it's good because I feel like it adds a little bit more hype to the females and a little bit more it solidifies them as like, oh shit, these girls can scrap, and the casuals see that now too. Very impressive over here.
Well, I'll tell you that I don't want to get too locked up into recency bias because it wasn't that long ago, man, where Molly McCann was a journeyman, a journeywoman. Now she's a superstar. But like literally a couple fights ago, it was just like literally 3-4 fights ago, you're like, oh yeah, Molly McCann, yeah, she's cool, you know what I mean? Then Patty Pimblett comes on the scene, and then they join forces, and then she starts knocking people out, and you're like, oh, she's the real deal. Like, oh. So that's really the question. Is Molly McCann the real deal? Or once we get a step up in competition, are we going to go back to the original Meatball Molly decision fest that we're accustomed to seeing?
Well, that's why I think she's not getting the stiffest jump up in competition, because she's already gone through so many of the other fighters. She, like you said, she was kind of in that middle ground that's not necessarily skyrocket growth, but just growing, falling, losing a couple, gaining a couple, in that weird limbo range. And I think that's why they're kind of giving her the slow route, because they see some value there. Everybody's, especially on the other side of the pond, man, they see a lot of value in the meatball, so they don't want to just throw her to the wolves right away and then lose all that potential money they can get. I think that's why, but I think she's the real deal. I mean, especially to having like you're showing the record right now, to have those losses and wins and come back and forth and fight really talented females out there. I think Molly McCann's the real deal. What about you?
I think Molly McCann is a legit contender, and she's a good fighter, right? I think that she can definitely hang out in that top 15 to 10 to 8 range currently right now. But I'm just saying, like, if you look at the losses right now, you can't really count this. This is back in 2015. Vanessa Mello. I'll tell you, Vanessa Mello has gone on to not have the brightest of careers. She's over there. I think she's in the PFL right now, to be honest with you. You lose to Jillian Robertson. Jillian Robertson has been in and out the rankings back and forth. Great, grappler, right? And look, she loses by rear naked choke. I mean, who would have thought? You lose to Tyler Santos, who just fought for a title against Valentina Shevchenko, and you lose to Laura Procopio, who is not a bad fighter whatsoever. Wins against Luana Carolina, Ji Young Kim, Diana Belbitsa, Ariane Lipski, Priscilla Cachueta. Those are some good wins, right? But what is the common denominator that we're seeing here? And I'm not even trying to disparage anybody. I'm a fan of Meatball, but this is the common denominator here, AJ. How many of these fighters are legitimately like, oh, these are like ranked legit fighters? Tyler Santos is the only one. It's the only one that you have on this entire list of people. Jillian Robertson is in and out the rankings, very, very back and forth herself. Because if you look at Jillian Robertson's record, 10-7, right? You losses to JJ Aldridge, Miranda Maverick, Macy Barber. I mean, Buena Silva, Calvillo. That's a good fighter to lose to, right? That's kind of the point that I'm making. When we get this step up in competition, when we get to the top 15, and I will actually pull up the top 15 right now of the women's flyweights. When we start talking about the Marina Moreau's, Tracy Cortez, Andrea Lee, Erin Blanchfield, Casey O'Neill, Jennifer Mayas, we start talking about those fighters, I just think it's going to be a little bit of a different story. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to be disparaging whatsoever. But I do think that we should enjoy the meatball show while it lasts right now. You know what I mean? Give her these opponents, make it entertaining, build up your fighter. I just thought that the UFC wasn't in the business of building up fighters. I thought the UFC was in the business of you build yourself up on the regional scene, and then we push you onto the UFC, give you tough tests to prove yourself. Now, am I wrong in that thinking, or do you think that this is just a special scenario with her and Patty Pimblett?
No. I think you're right in that thinking. I feel like that's the normal situation in which these fighters are presented. I just think it's a little different now for Molly McCann because they're so short in the star power in the flyweight division that they'll take any. They're just like, bro, just give us something. If we need to build you up for these certain situations or these certain cases, they'll do it. I think this is one of those ones where they see some star power. They're not lacking in talent in this division, but they are, like it's thin pickings, if you will, slim pickings, however the saying goes. And I just think they see value in meatball, so that they're one of the few where she built it up, or they're building it up for her.
Well, listen, man, that's what we need right now. We need more name value here so that we can have more of these women flyweight contests put on where people are like, who is this? If it's not Valentina, who, huh? So I definitely, like I said, I want to see her now fight top 10, top 15. You got your spinning back elbow KOs. Let's not keep you in this journey woman stage because, the clock is ticking, bro. She is all of 32 years old. So it's not like she even said it herself. She's like, I'm not ready for Valentina right now, but give me Antonina, who is out of the rankings now, but she's been back and forth in the rankings too. So I think that's a fair matchup to have. So big win by the meatball. But like I said, let's get a step up in competition. We step.